Yeah, man, we here coming off vacation. You know what I'm saying? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Mic check, mic check. All right, man. There's some crazy junk about 50, and contrary to what you believe, you know, I've been looking at this story, been peeping for a minute, so listening to all this stuff. And the crazy part about this thing with 50, 50, like before when his son was young, he was always taking pictures with his son, had them all at different award shows. I'm talking about little dude was everywhere with him. Know what I'm saying? Just real cool. Like he loved his dad. Then just all of a sudden it stopped. Like he stopped hanging around his dad. He wasn't around his dad so much. And tend to, contrary to believe. Hey, this is the crazy part that I look at this with 50. Most of the time when you a celebrity, and this one thing I can say from um Kevin Samuel's point of view, when he talk about men having options, that's one thing I can truly say. A person who has money, they have a situation to where they can choose to be in a monogamous relationship or poly or whomever, what, because they got the money. That's how they feel, you know. And to a degree, it's all up to that person because the woman that they're with, you know, 50, he tried, I guess I don't know if he married or not, know about that, but the whole stand was they wasn't together like that, but he was still taking care of the child. What's going on, everybody popping in? And it was kind of sketchy, like, okay, prime example, a woman like Oprah has money. She deals with everybody knows Stephen. But it come to a degree to where she say, well, I don't want to deal with just Stepman. I want another man, but I'm gonna have him on the side or something like that, whatever. But she got money, and so that's where that whole people with money got option stuff is, kind of derived from. And I mean, I get it, I understand. Like you got money, you can say, well, I want to be in this type of relationship. I don't want to be in this type of relationship, and that's just it. So basically, going back with 50, to a degree, if 50 didn't want to be with her while he was, in his relationship and he wanted to move around, that's what it was. I mean, I understand the situation where people get mad, but, you know, money changed people. So let's to a degree, 50 was moving around, wasn't really messing with her like that. It was her choice to stay. You know how I'm big on choices. You know what I'm saying? Go, P. But, to a degree, um, it was her choice to stay. I always say everybody has a choice in the matter of everything in life. If a woman said a man is beating on her, that woman has the option to leave. If a man say my woman don't cook and clean, she ain't no good, you got the option to leave. So everybody who always say that there's an issue in a relationship, you're not being forced to stay. You have the option to leave. What's going on? Let me get some shout outs to everybody in the building. You know, Ricky just popped in. Ricky Williams, check him out. Sheila, everybody stepping in the building. Kane, Jessica, Be the Difference Clothing, everybody. And this is the crazy part, with 50. The craziness is, yeah, he was messing around. He had his kids, whomever, with all that. Now it's getting to the son. And you know how I'm big on legacy and I always talking about family and stuff like that. 50 did a lot for his son. 50 orchestrated, different things to help his son. When they actually broke up and had a little, situation where they split, He, pretty much considered paying the money up front or paying so much, whatever. And from what it was told, when 50 and his baby mama was together, he was giving her 25,000 a month. But when they separated and things started getting rough, you know, that's when she got 63. I think it was 6,300 a month for child support. And now the big debate is, oh, 50 son is this, 50 son is that. There's countless of times they ran into each other in the club. They almost, had a little dispute where they was about to get into it. He ran into him in the jewelry store one time. I heard that story. Well, 50's the jewelry store. I see my son in there. He got two necklaces trying to pawn them out with like $5,000 to get a bigger necklace. He's like, but if he was with me, I'd have been like, man, put that money down. Just get him that necklace. Keep them two little ones plus your money. But he was like, he not with me. So when I seen him doing it, I looked at him and, just seeing how the transaction was going. And I just vamped. And his son even came up, tried to approach him like, would you following me? It's like this guy who's a celebrity, his whole objective is to run around and follow his son, which don't like him, to be around him. So that's my main goal, is to hang around somebody that really don't like me or don't want to be around me. That's the crazy part, you know. And so when it came down to it, hey, just mutual. Hey, I see you. Say hey. That's it. Now this whole thing about entitlement came out when he did this interview, because he's saying that he can't live off of 6,700 a month. And hey, considering if he's getting that money now, being 50's son, you know, to a degree, get out of New York, move down south. You say your dad got enemies. You say this is a situation where you can get, this and that with your dad. When it comes to a point, you really, really, really have to think about this. 6,700 technically is not a lot to a person with status and got money, but to a person that don't got money or really like don't know the ins and out of money, that's a lot. But like I said, don't get it twisted. To a degree, that's still a lot of money in New York, but to a point, because you got to understand, you got to stay in a nicer place with security or something. Because if he stay in a regular average, apartment, something like that, to a degree in New York, where somebody can get at you, that's not a good look. So I can understand him for that. Even to the point of him wanting a nice car, but you wanting a nice car status off of the back of your dad, to say, I'm 50 son, I got to ride in the Audi and this and that. I got to drive nice. You can drive a Honda. You're the celebrity son. And so that's why this whole entitlement thing, he think he deserves the nicer things, the look and everything, on the backs of him being the son of a celebrity, but he don't want nothing to do with that person. His dad literally made him famous. Nobody really knows him if he's not Marquise Jackson, which is 50 Cent's son. And the crazy part, I heard this story to a degree, that his dad ended up knowing he liking sneakers, bought him a whole bunch of shoes. Just bought the store out. It was going out of business. Gave him the shoes. He, wore some, sold some, squandered the money, and in the end, didn't have the proper net training. And you know what I always talk about with the knowledge? He didn't have the proper knowledge to keep that business afloat, and ultimately ran through the money. You got one of the biggest pioneers of business, not only just music. All his shows that he's, going into is making money. All these business endeavors he's going into making money. Like, look how much he bought Tyson's house. He could have bought Tyson's house for way more. Like the amount of money he spend and recoups it back because he make good investments. He make good business deals. And a lot of people fail to understand that when it come down to business and these deals. It comes down to your management, and it's a real bad lack of knowledge when it comes down to the community. That's why I always try to speak on. The things I know now. Me and my wife was having this discussion the other day, and I told her, I said, one thing I kind of regret was going into the military. Make sure I get my thumbs up. Buffing? Is that me? The thing I kind of really regret was not going into the military. You know, my dad went us in the military, and for two, when he passed, we was well taken care of. He had trust and everything set up for us and everything. But it was the crazy part. I knew with life insurance I can do that for my kids. But the benefits of the military. Me and my wife, she said she didn't have no guidance. She said if she had the guidance, she would have ended up going into the military like her cousin and came back out and had the benefits, you know? And that's the whole thing. When it comes down to the money aspect, a lot of people really don't have that actual person to guide you and help you with these situations. And for people that don't know, I was raised by my grandma. Grandmother was an older lady, you know. She had this whole straight path, college thinking, doctor, lawyer. I had four brothers. When we were young, this what the older generation did. They pretty much prompt you to be something, and they wanted you to obtain that goal. No matter the obstacle, do it, get it done. Because that's the way a lot of people move back in the day. A lot of people move to that degree like that to say, when it comes down to it, move this way, move that way. That's final. And most people did that when your parents told you, you know, they were older men, taught themselves how to read. Older men that taught themselves to do things like engineering, blacksmithing, um, carpentry work, plumbing, all that stuff they learned just off the strength of looking at people and going home and practicing, being in the surroundings of people in those industries where you couldn't learn being an apprentice back then to a degree when you was black. There was one guy, he always wanted to be a professor. I heard this guy was staying on YouTube, had a story of his dad always wanted to be a professor. When his dad finally, what I'm saying, got good at reading, he would read all these scholar books. He would read all this stuff. But he wanted his son in return to do what he couldn't do. Because at the time, Jim Crow, slavery, all that, civil rights, he couldn't get his foot in the door. But as his son was growing up, the laws were changing. He did. So that was the old narrative. Now, if you was in those industries, you would teach your kids. That's like I said the other day. I had my aunt. I was talking about my aunt. I think I did a video. I got a whole bunch of videos. I never really dropped it because I've been trying to edit, do them so much. But the crazy part is, I literally talked about how my aunt went to college for an accounting. She ended up working at Sears. She taught her kids finance. All like literally, she got two girls, one boy. Her son got right now to this day good investments set aside, passive, stuff that he got going on. To where this guy ain't worked in 5 years. He just cooping money off this little deal that he got going on with his business. He got somebody else running set aside. He just making funds off of that. He was like, I just don't feel like working right now. I start back working in a minute, figure out what I want to do. At first, the first year he had like some health complications, you know, and got past that. Then when it came down to it, you know, he was like, okay, well, I want to go ahead and just chill, look at some stocks, read some books, doing all this stuff on the strength of everything his mother taught him. Daughter, I mean, his sister, same way, made some good investments to the point where saved a lot of money. She ended up getting into an accident, even though she got workers' comp from her job and everything, but she had like all kind of stuff, just everything was cool. With me on the other hand, I learned this stuff as I got older. If I was young, like I literally had a great successful job when I was young. I like was fortunate out the gate. My friend mom told me when I got older, when I was talking to her, she was like, I used to think you sold drugs. And I started laughing. I was like, why you say that? She was like, every weekend you got my son partying with you when she said you come home and all I know is he used to say you go out of town, you come back in, and then he ready. He like a kid at a candy store waiting to get that call where y'all go hang out. She said, I swore you sold drugs. And I told her, I said, I just had a real good job, but I never really was taught to save for the future. I was taught to just save money in the bank. And my thing of it was, I ain't gonna tell the whole story, but I got caught up in little situations where people, taking my money, doing stuff to a degree. So I was always to the approach where if you're gonna try to get at me or I might as well just spend it. I might as well live in this that YOLO stuff. That was me coming up till I learned about savings, till I learned about, doing things different. And I was like, all these years I was blowing so much. Like my friends will tell you, I was like the freshest dude. Like when I was in high school, I had a pretty nice wardrobe because I had a decent job when I was in high school, on and off. But when I got out of high school, I literally had so much money. Like I think at one point I was trying to be like LL Cool J because I heard he had over 600 hats. I think in one summer I bought like 30 hats. In total, the amount of hats I got up to was like 86. I got up to 86 baseball hats, no snapbacks. Hats were pretty much ranging from I think $10 when I was buying them at the discount stores, or going to lids spending $40 on hats. All the way I got a couple collectibles with like 50 and $75 hats, you know, and just going on a tangent really, but the craziness I learned about spending money to where it can affect things, as far as future goals. 50's son is trying to be so to the point of impressing everybody on the backs on which his dad built versus building a relationship. He literally, and this is the crazy part, he put out that he would give his dad $6,700 just to spend time with him. You know how many times 50 has been reaching out to his dad and trying to, I mean, 50's been reaching out to his son, trying to set up something where they can sit down and have a relationship, like really like father son type stuff. His son complained, well, my dad didn't come to my graduation. Of course. Yeah. He didn't come to your graduation. This guy's a big name celebrity. But this was the thing. When did you tell him that you would graduate? He know you're gonna graduate. That's without question. He know you're a senior in high school. What is the day you're gonna graduate? For a person that's real, busy and politically or into all these things business wise, you can't tell me 2 weeks or the week before, and I'm just gonna jump up and run to come to your graduation. That's the same thing that happened with my cousin. My cousin literally told me that she was graduating at the end of the month. I said, okay, give me a date, all this and stuff. She didn't tell me till like 2 or 3 days before. I thought she was graduating on the weekend. Like normally, that's when I graduated. I graduated, I think it was a Friday. They graduated on I think Wednesday or Thursday. I said, who graduates in the middle of the week? I never noticed because, like I said, I graduated on the weekend when I graduated from high school. So when she told me, I was like, I can't make it. I was like, you didn't give me a specific day. I'm like, I love you. I'm gonna give you some money. I'm shoot some money to your mama, but I just can't make it. She understood. She really wanted me to be there, but she understood. And that's the thing. I'm not that big of an important person, but to 50, who got all these business deals, and at the time he was filming a movie, end up missing his son's graduation because he was all the way in another country. Now, let's take for instance with what's his name? Offset. Offset with Cardi B. His son was having a first football game. I think they say he spent, I think it was 5,000, 10,000, whatever, to catch a private jet to come back just to see his son first football game. Everybody praised him for it. That's love, this and that. Yeah, yeah. 50 could have did the same thing. But the point of you telling me at the last minute to make me look bad, whether it been his mom or him, that shows. Like you act like this guy. I mean, if you're not talking to me all the time, and at the time, notice that was the time when he was getting ready to graduate. Him and his dad wasn't on good terms. Him and his dad hasn't been on good terms pretty much ever since he started getting into the preteen stage. All before 10, I've always seen 50 with his son. Before 10, always. Award shows, studio. I'm talking about all this. Like, even as a little kid, he would be holding his hand, like picking him up, taking him to a award ceremony. Always seen 50 with his son like that. Down to the point when he got into this teen or preteen stage, that's when the whole my dad's not there start coming out. You know, and people will say, well, this is monetary, you know. Well, my dad, all he doing is just giving me money. What's the relationship between him and his mom? And this is crazy, and you know, I, I kind of understand with what's my guy name? What's the comedian? Dang, I just looked at him this morning. 5150, Corey Holcomb. Corey Holcomb said this, and I kind of was thrown off when he said it, but he said, I know this gonna go viral because it's true. And to a degree, it is. If a man don't really have a relationship with the mother, it makes it hard for him to have a relationship with their child, son or daughter. You know why? Because if that woman don't like you, she gonna make it her life's mission not to have let you have a good relationship with your child. There are a lot of men who say, "Well, I try to go over there on visitation day. She say he not there, or we're at his cousin's house, or just not there, or she not gonna let me see him." Then when you come to the point where you say, "Well, you know, I pay my money, I do what I can," you gotta pay because you don't want to go to jail. And that's when you're talking about like him saying that he pays. Yes, he pays the money because he don't want to go to jail. But at the same time, whenever he has a chance, he tries. It doesn't work. Because like I said, what changed from the whole situation before 10, after 10? The baby mom probably want more money, and it's the coercion thing. You're telling your child all you do. Your dad is giving you money. He don't want to come see you. But then you might say, hey, he's spite whatever going on with the mom situation, that son only influenced by people around him. And it's to the degree they to this day there's no reason. And a lot of guys will say, well, the baby mama did this and that. It comes a point you can't blame the mom for this. This dude is literally 25 years old. At what point after 25, you're gonna still blame the mom. We talk about accountability on both sides. Okay, yeah, she probably started the fire reaction thing, but you mean to tell me at 25 years old, this boy can't make a logical decision to say, despite whatever my mom told me, despite whatever I've been doing up until this point, I need to really figure out what's going on or sit down and we have a discussion because he stays on his own. He don't stay with his mom. So it's not like his mom is forcing him not to be with 50. He made this choice and decision to not want to deal with his dad. That's why I say we can point fingers all day, but when it really, really comes down to it, just understanding this is his son's decision, despite all the stuff that went on in the past, not to be around his father. Even when him saying, "I give my dad $2,500 to, you know, I mean, $6,700 to spend one day with him, and let's play red light, green light." Dude, you can reach out to your dad. I know he got his number. If he ain't got his number, he has some. He can get the he can actually get the yellow pages. He can call down to any studio that his dad goes to. He can call, let's say Interscope. Call Interscope. Hey, I want to speak to 50. I'm his son. This and that. Can y'all reach out to him? Somebody at Interscope will say, "Hey, who's got 50 number? His son wants to reach out to him. Boom. Let's get this. Let's get the ball rolling." You go to any one of these blog sites and say, "Me and my dad, I want to sit down and have a real discussion with him." You know, and it's just that. You know, how many other celebrities really have these big time issues like this to where it's out in the open like this? It's kind of like forced in our community where we keep the dysfunction going by showing it to everybody. There's a lot of infighting with most kids you never really, know about and realize. What's the guy I was looking at? It wasn't Eric, the hip hop rapper. There was this other guy who actually did um he was a motivational speaker, just say the least. And what he did was he would come out, talk to people, talk to corporations, talk to business. And I actually seen him on another channel, and I'm bad with names, y'all, but this channel basically talk all kind of motivators, motivated speakers and this and that nature. So this guy was in jail, came out, started talking in corporate to people. The biggest thing he said when he got in these corporate offices were he want to see the people's kids and talk to them because he was like, in order you to be successful in corporate and in business, you got to have a happy house. And depending on how your kids are feeling, that move will come off on you. And he talked to a lot of these people, kids, got paid good money for it too. So he was getting like 50,000 a pop per kid to just sit down and talk with them, see where they was mentally, and helped a lot of kids that was going through stressing with their parents always working. Uh, I think he had 3 kids. I think it was more than 3. There was like 10 of them. He said or something to a degree from like suicide watch and stuff. Was always on edge and helped those kids out a lot. And when it come down to it, like a lot of these young kids, especially like with 50 son, why he was never given counsel, you know, going and seeing a counselor, going and seeing somebody that can help. I mean, to a degree, 50 should have paid for it. His mom, if she was like really, but the situation to where like this is a grown man And I was talking about this last night on chopping it up. And I was telling him this mental behavior, like when you learn how to do something, and like I say, always boil down to the men and women. This gender clash is always going to be around because everybody wants to point the finger instead of having accountability for themselves. Like I said, everything is a choice. You have a situation you have to deal with, that's your choice. But it was to a degree that I was explaining that, you know, a lot of men and women, you get taught bad behavior. So when you get taught bad behavior, it takes a while for you to break that bad behavior. You know, if I was taught, you know, prime example, brush your teeth. I used to rinse my mouth out with Listerine after I finished brushing my teeth. And I got older and someone said, no, you're supposed to rinse your mouth out first because you loosen up everything, then brush your teeth, and then rinse your mouth out again with water. I was like, wow, I've been doing it wrong all this time. Literally, I've been literally doing that wrong all this time. So you know what I did? I literally start rinsing my mouth out, but this was the catch. The first couple of times I did it, I would always brush my teeth and say, "Ah, man, I forgot to do the Listerine," because I'm so used to brushing my teeth, rinsing rinsing my mouth out with Listerine. Then I started saying, "I'm gonna put my toothbrush right here by my Listerine instead of like I always have it spread it out." So the first thing when I get ready to grab the toothbrush, I see the Listerine, so I know to rinse my mouth out. That's how people have bad habits. Yeah, flossing too. Yeah, forgot to mention that. But basically, I'm just saying that was my normal thing that I would always, you know, do that first. Floss, brush your teeth, and then rinse. But basically, just get the gist what I'm saying. But when it comes down to it, I had to break that habit by, you know what I'm saying, training my mind to stop doing that. There's a lot of people who learn things for their mothers and fathers totally disrespectful, totally out of line, totally just want to see you hurt, miserable, and it's to the point where some of them do it only to the point where which they have been hurt and stuff, and they don't want to see you succeed. And it's almost to the point where if I'm I'm doing bad, I don't want my child to do better than me. You know why? I mean, that's the mindset. Some people I don't get it. You know, the thing is, I would want my kids to excel better, do better, everything to me. You know, if I graduated from high school, I want my kids to graduate from college. If I graduated from college, I want my kids to get their doctorate. I want everything better for my kids. Some people don't have that mentality. You know, some people like, nah, nah. I want to shine. I want to be the bigger light. So they put forth. If I see you doing better, I'm gonna knock you back down to humble you. And it's not in a sense to humble you, but it's to make myself good. You know, and one thing with Shaq, I looked at Drink Champs and he was saying how his father was so hard on him, like, yeah, I like this trophy. Now give me another one. And he said when he came back, like he was literally crying on there, wiping his tears. And he said he asked him, why was you so hard on me when I was playing basketball? You know, you didn't just like a lot of tough love. He told him he didn't want him to get complacent. And I understand that because with people being complacent, it shows like really how they move. You start getting relaxed and slump down in to where, you know, with Shaq saying he was the best, then he'll start playing like, oh, I'm the greatest, man. Nobody can top me. And, you know, going back into the scenario with 50 and his son, like a lot of stuff going on in this young guy head. You know, we can blame who we want to blame. We can say who we want to say about, but this guy's literally 25 years old, you know, and at 25, you haven't developed some mental to where you can understand that what's going on between you and your father is this bad, to where the public is giving more input and giving you therapy for yourself, because now he's starting to realize that $2,700, that's decent compared to most people not getting anything. Compared to most people, you know, ain't even getting $1,000. Most people, they working, they get a good decent paycheck, anywhere from 1,000 to $3,000 a month. That's pretty decent for a lot of people. A $3,000 check is pretty decent a month. Every 2 weeks you're getting $1,500. That's decent. $6,700, that's a lot of money. And he just don't understand that so many people, you literally can take care of, down south, you probably can take care of what, three households with that money? You probably could take care of about at least three households, comfortably two households. You got a $1,500 mortgage, 500 on the bills. That's 2,000 right there. A car note, food. You're looking at another 1,000. Car note, food, other little minor expenses, about 3,000. Then, between the seven, break that seven and a half, and what's that? 350 and 350, and that covers for all the other little stuff. Eating out, you know, 35 a month is pretty decent for, you know, a family to. I mean, 3,300. What is it? 20. I'm sorry, 3,250. 3250 is decent for a family to live with down south. Even if you have less than $1,500, let's say you have $1,000, mortgage every month. That's pretty good. So 50's son is like really entitled for what? He's trying to take jabs at 50, but 50 taking jabs at him like, man, I'm trying to get you to be my. I never seen such. Someone's literally trying to be a father to a kid that don't want a dad. What you want is money. And this the thing that always get me when it comes down to people. You don't want nobody, you don't want to deal with nobody, nothing with this person, but you literally want their money. And I never understand it. Even in divorce. I seen this one guy where he went in on this lady and it was kind of crazy. She literally was talking about how much empowered and how much of a strong woman she is, and she's this and she's that, and she has a successful career in media. She's in the industry and film and all this. Like she's on the news and everything. And the guy said, "You talk about your nice car, your nice house, and all this, but you're getting an alimony check from your husband. So how you this so big person and you don't need a man, but you're accepting money from this man?" And she got quiet. I was like, crazy, you know? Even with 50 Son, he talking all this stuff, how his dad was bad. His dad was never there. His dad was this, his dad was that. But he's still taking money from him. And then if he cut the money off, oh look, see, I told y'all he was so horrible. But as soon as the money come back on, he ain't all that. All he do is just pay. It's like you can't. What they say, damned if you do and damned if you don't. This kid literally don't want nothing to do with his dad, but he wants his money. How that work? And this is what it's boiled down to. What I'm literally trying to go through with the conversation. You literally don't want nothing to do with somebody, but you want their money. Having an understanding to, if I was dealing with that situation, I just cut him off altogether. I don't want nothing to do with my father. I don't want his money. I don't want no relationship with him. I don't want to be around him. Why would you take money from somebody you don't like? It's like taking candy from strangers. Like, I'm still not understanding. Well, with 50, like his son was, like I said, acting crazy, talking about how he'll give his dad $6,700 to spend time with him for one day. 50's always met this guy in public, talked with him. They had brief moments where they talked and then they went their separate ways. But when it came down to it, it was always understood that his son didn't want to deal with him. 50 never forced his son to say, man, you gotta be with me, you gotta do this. No, because he already knows. If if I want to deal with my son and my son wants to deal with me, he'll talk. If my son don't want to talk to me, why am I gonna force the issue? Saying once again on Chop It, I was over there last night, Chop It Up TV, talking with him, and I told him, I said, I got two stepkids. I said I raised these stepkids all the way to their to now. Basically to 18, but to now I'm still talking with them. And I'm saying stepkids for a reason because I always just call them my kids. But those are not my biological kids. But when it comes down to it, I told them, I said, if one of them don't want to deal with me, you know what I would do? Cool, leave them alone. Don't talk to them. Don't deal with them a certain way, and life still goes on for me. I said, guess what happened if my two other kids, which are my kids by me and my wife, I would treat them the same way. If you don't want to deal with me, why am I forcing myself on you? 50, he's doing what he's supposed to do. When you want to come to me and talk, we can talk. I'm the adult. I shouldn't have to run behind you. And he made it perfectly clear. We was talking. He said, "Well, what if, as a child, they say some mean stuff like you ain't my dad, all this stuff." I said, "Yeah, that's cool." I said, "For one, my stepkids never said that to me because I've always put that ground first. You don't have to call me dad, but you're gonna respect. I was raised like that to respect adults. So that's all I ask of you is to respect me. You can be mad at me, you can hate me, you don't like me, but when I tell you to do something, out of respect, you do it. Talk to your mama. Tell your mama you don't want to do it. Cool. You don't want to like washing dishes? If she say you ain't gotta wash dishes, cool. If she make that an issue, cool. Guess what? You will never see me here again. Because like I always told my wife from day one when I got with her, kids do not run the house. If I'm in the house where a child is telling me what to do or putting me in a situation to where I have to go back and forth with my girlfriend or my wife, I'm not gonna be there. Kids do not run the house. I learned that as a child, so that's not something I'm gonna do. You know. But like I said, when it gets down to it, you know, that's like the biggest thing. And when we were having that conversation, he's like, if your stepkids, if they act a certain way, would you just throw them to the curb when they're a kid? I said, no. I'll let them become an adult and then we'll make that decision. And basically, that's what 50 did with his son. His son became an adult. Man, I know you trolling. Ain't nobody studying you. But this is, I want to touch on that. Spending time is priceless. But the whole point is, you got to want to do it. The whole time, like I said, when he was young, They both were spending time with each other. They both were working and dealing with each other. But what happened between that situation when he became a teenager? You know, spent all the time he wanted with him as a kid, but as he became an adult, couldn't. I mean, at the height of when he was young, that's when 50 career was big in the music industry. He started getting into movies later you know. The same way he had him on, videos, rap videos and traveling with him doing shows, he do the same thing with him when he had movie deals. Like I said, it's the mindset. The difference when it came down to his mom having to say so, it just wasn't there anymore. And I wasn't really, too much mad at that because I'm like, hey, if she changed the narrative, I mean, kind of good for him until, he kind of really has that relationship with his son when he gets older. But he adopted it and kept going with it. So it's like you painting this picture of this person being a bad person. How's everyone else looking at him slightly different? But then with you, you're looking at him as a horrible person. And now you're saying that you'll pay him to spend time. It's like you making him be the bad guy, but then you literally wanting to deal with him. Eh, I'm not understanding. Like, if he's the bad guy, you don't want to be around him. But you're saying that he don't want to spend time with you. But he's always said, when you're ready to talk, we'll sit down and have that talk. He's always said, I'm here for you. Anytime there was a situation, he was there only when he was allowed to. And that's the thing. You can only be a father to someone that wants you to be a father. And that's what I was referring to with stepkids. You know, you can only be a father to a child that'll let you be a father. You know, a lot of stepkids they still garner that love from their father, which is not a thing. It's understandable. You have a connection with that person, and the issue is with Marquise. Like, to a degree, we never heard of his mom having another male role model around. It was never publicized like that. You know, even with that situation with him and Rick Ross, how he had, you know, Rick Ross had got his baby mom and was, doing stuff with her like that, willing and dealing a little situation. But at the end of the day, it's like, ah, I shouldn't have to force you to be my son. I shouldn't have to threaten you to be my son. And with that, like, all all intents purposes, the guy should just drop this whole macho thing. You really don't have no money. That's like you being the what is it called, those prince of a royal family, and you broke, no money, you living off social security, something like that. Why is that? You know, you have a highly, I mean, just rapping, acting, producing, pretty much everything in Power. He could have got a role in Power. He could have been the what's the guy, Ghost. He could have been his son. He could have been his son in Power. Instead, he got the other kid. 50 could have gave that role to his son. How hard is it to get him some acting lessons and get him to play that role? How hard is him to start a reality show and then get his son in the reality show? I mean, look at Boosie and T.I.'s son King. Was it King and Tootie? They got a show coming out. I'm quite sure T.I. and Boosie had something to do with it. Same with 50. 50 son, like, this can be a spinoff to How to Live off of this much money. Like it could be a spinoff. But man, I'm finna get off of here, get over here and make some of this money. But at the same time, man, it's like this entitlement, not seeking knowledge. It basically this what it boils down to. This dude should have been capitalizing on all that money he was getting over those years and still getting money from his dad. Because as it stands, nobody never says what his mom does for a living or what he do for a living. It was never put out like the money that he makes outside of, being 50 son. So it's like, how can you live? What type of knowledge you retain? By you being 50 son, you should have been privy to a lot of people, a lot of situations. You should have college, technical school, like I said, a business course. You can take a business course 6 to 8 months. Trade school. Go to trade school 6 to 8 months. Take up some classes, business, entrepreneurship. This guy could have been making good money. With the money he has, t-shirt business. He could have started a t-shirt business. Start a podcast as being 50 son. You know how many people will come over there and just listen to the crazy stories that you had about how you was meeting all these celebrities and stuff like that. But like I say, I'm about to get off of this. And shout out to the people that came through, you know. As it stand, man, like I said, 50 Son, I mean, pretty good kid from what I can see and understand. But it's just the path of him wanting to point the finger, not holding himself accountable. That's why I say, yeah, we can say his mom this and mom that. Dude, 25 years old. How long could we gonna blame somebody else for somebody else's mistakes? And like I said, to a degree, yeah, he was to a degree, yeah, he was influenced by his mom, but you 25. How can you really say at 25 everything my mom taught me or said about my dad, and I'm literally an adult to where I can go sit down and talk. There's nobody else. Yeah, point well taken. Point well taken. I mean, there's a lot of other celebrities, you know. Hey, Will Smith. Look at look at Will Smith's oldest son. You never really hear about him. This guy has a great life. I think went to college, got a decent regular job, and he still have a good relationship with his dad. Despite that situation, I think Will did when he had the kid with her. You know, they was in a bad place. I think Will end up cheating or just some to the degree not being with her no more, and they end up divorcing. That was I think that they were married. You know, yeah, Cube's son the same way. How he came back around his dad, despite his dad getting remarried and all. There's a lot of couples, celebrities that do this. A lot of average people that do this. It's up to that child. Even guys that I hear in these spaces, they say the same thing. Well, when my son get 18, then I'm gonna sit down and have this talk with him and let him know, you know, Corey Holcomb. I was just listening to 5150. He said that about his daughter. He said his daughter was 16. It's gonna be quick. So his daughter was 16 years old, and he was like, his daughter called him and asked for a coat in Chicago. I think she said in Chicago. He's like, why is she asking for a coat and I'm giving her mom this much money? He said, I bought the coat. And this was another thing too was he said that his daughter needed a hair done. Besides her mom paying for it, he said, this my daughter. I'm gonna pay for it. So he set up an account at a beauty salon in Chicago for his daughter to get her hair done. And he said he started looking at the account and it was getting more and more expensive. So he was seeing sometimes being charged double to where he would call the people and they would say, yeah, the mom came in and was getting her hair done. So he closed the account down. Now everybody would say, oh man, he's wrong. You should never, that's his daughter. Despite what the mom's doing, you should never do this to the daughter. He had it set up like that. And she messed it up. I'm like, that's crazy. Like I said, it's not no pushback because, like I said, you have most women that deal in this matter and they real cool, have good relationships. Even what's the lady name on the show? I know it's Ortiz. Her last name is but basically the lady on 5150. I'm having a blank with her name right now, but she was saying that like to a degree they didn't have her and Ice Cube didn't have a good relationship when it came to their son. They was always going to events together with the kid, hanging around the kid like they married. Even when I think Coco came in, they always like one big happy family. They put their pride to the side only for the kid. So that's why I say when it comes to these situations with women doing certain things like this, I don't speak in absolutes because I know all women aren't like this. That's why when I hear guys go on this tangent and rants like this, I'm like, all women aren't like this. It's some. Some women are like this, not all. And to a degree, it goes back to what I said earlier at the beginning. It's about choices. If you choose to deal with that person, you got to accept all responsibility because that was the choice you made. Now, if a person changes up and you chooses to stay there with that changed person, once again, you got to accept all responsibilities at play because when they change, you should change. How someone else change to benefit themselves and you don't change to benefit yourself? How somebody else, puts you in a bad situation but keeps them in a good situation? That's on you to accept it. And a lot of people keep failing to realize that when you accept stuff like that, it's your fault. You got to accept all situations or parties at hand. When you do wrong, you got to accept everything that comes with it. If that person treats you wrong and you choose to stay there, you got to accept everything that comes with it. You can't say like I always say this to guys when I hear them on different panels talking. Man, my woman, she don't cook, she don't do nothing. And when I ask them that main question, they get stunned. It's like, oh man, you supposed to take my side. When wasn't she not cooking? Like when y'all first got together, did she always cook? And they be like, not so much, not. So you basically accepted a woman that doesn't cook and want to point the finger now 5 years later. I had a dude I talked to. It was funny. Like this is how sexless marriage. I'm going on a tent. Let me get off of here. I'm just gonna say this real quick. But like this is how sexless marriage started. I knew a guy. He was complaining about his wife not having sex, but I'm like, dude, you told me when y'all first got together she wasn't that active like that. So if she just started cutting it off even more, just leave. And he was like, ah. And I'm like, okay, what's more important to you? He's like, well, we got a kid together. We got one kid together. And I'm like, okay, so y'all got that one kid together. I was like, if y'all not married, then go figure it out in court. And he's like, it's not that easy. Yes, it is. You making things more difficult than what it really is. If you don't want to be there, or the sex is a big part and she's not getting, just leave. If you can't work it out, just leave. That's not that simple. Who's putting a gun to your head and making you stay? And see, it's just as simple as that. It's simple by saying words, but it's just that, you know. Yeah, and and that's the thing, when it comes down to it, in the future, you're gonna have that mentality. You're gonna always walk around with this chip on your shoulder, and that's what he's doing now. And everybody else, I think it's more or less the pressure of everybody's calling him a fool and coming at him about his dad. was making him wanting to reach out to his dad more because more and more people around him are starting to say, "You got to stop with your mom because she ain't even here. You 25, you know." And it's like, how can you sit here and keep blaming your mom for something? You 25. You got guys that are 40, 50 years old still complain about what their parents did to them when they were young. Granted that, yeah, it hurts and the pain is still there, but to a degree, most parents have died and they're still holding this stuff in. And I got another video. I'm gonna drop down because I'm going in all these different directions. I got another video I ain't dropped about Terry Crews. Terry Crews beat up his dad because his dad I think slapped his mom. Yeah, that's true. Terry Crews' dad slapped his mom in front of the kids, his kids. So he was so mad. He told his wife, he said, "You get the kids, you leave. Take my mom with you. Leave him there by himself. I want to make sure he's there when I get there." So he went and talked to his dad. Was like, "Hey man, I told you, man, about putting your hand on mom." He's like, "Ah, shut up, boy. You man, you know what it is." As soon as he said that, hard off punched his dad in the face and just went to work on him. And the crazy part, like I talked about in my video, it wasn't even about him defending his mom. It was about him defending himself. All those years of not being able to, tell his dad to stop, not being able to, kind of, in a way do protect his mom, but to protect himself. Because I'm quite sure he beat on him when he was drunk or mad or just not even drunk, just mad, being aggressive. And I was like, even though that's a bad look, but I understand, and that entitlement comes with a lot of people. They get to a point in their head and they just stick to that narrative. And sometimes you have to be forced out of that mindset, you know, and that's the thing I was talking about again on Chop It Up TV when we was talking about uh kids growing up. He was saying the kids should stay at the house till they at least about 30. And I'm like, no, at least I say I would give at least 25. By 25, I'm not kicking you out, but I'm gonna help you get an apartment. You gotta still grow up. You gotta mature. You gotta get to a level of maturity to where you're learning and doing stuff on your own. And you coddling, having a child around you, having your kid around you till you 30, 40, 50 years old, how are they gonna be able to grow? Whatever happens if you pass, they can't function. They can't live on their own. They've always had somebody cook their food. They've always had somebody take care of them. I know special need kids brush their teeth, make up their bed, do all this stuff on their own without their parents. They've been trained and learned to do this stuff for so many years. It's in second nature. They don't need anybody. There's a lot of people with disabilities that stay by themselves. To the ordinary, you would think, man, oh, they need help. They need no, they've mindset, they've matured, they've got out past their disabilities and what's wrong with them to be better for the greater good. And that's what his son needs. He needs to look past for the greater good of himself because his mom not is not in the picture no more. Even though his mom, he can call, oh, I seen him on the video. Oh, mom, you look beautiful. Mom, you look beautiful. Cool, that's your mom. She's gonna always be your mom. Once again, that's your dad. He gonna always be your dad. Despite him not trying to hurt his mom feelings by having a relationship with his dad, he needs to have a balance to do both. If he got to do it in secrecy, then do it. But at the same time, you got to have a balance in both. You know, hopefully behind the scenes, him and his dad have a great relationship. Not seen, but maybe. Who knows? But like I said, his mentality got to change, man. It can't just be this whole "I hate dad" and push dad type speech. That it hurts, because like I said, dealing with this type of entitlement, and it goes back to the money. You know, if something was to happen to 50 and 50 don't leave his kid nothing in the will, would anybody be surprised? Personally, I wouldn't, because like I say, he don't like the man, he disrespects the man, but he wants his money. You were never there for me. You didn't come to my graduation. 50 already noted that he didn't know the date. He knew his son would graduate, but he didn't know the date. Hey, contrary, it might be true or not be true. But at the same time, like I say, busy, a lot of busy people in corporate doing stuff. Like I said, he was filming that movie at that time. It's not giving him an out because he knew his son was graduating. But at the same time, if I have 30 things on the docket and that one thing that stands out I'm not specific on, and you don't tell me ahead of time, prep me, give me invitations, something like that, this and that, how can I be there? Told you the situation with my cousin. I didn't go to her graduation because her graduation was on a Wednesday. Normal people graduate on a weekend. I cleared my weekend. I'm like, cool. I'm not gonna do a job that weekend. I'm gonna do this. You said at the end of the month. Cool. You graduated on that Wednesday. And sometimes, like you let me know, I get off early at my job. I can't get off. I go in early, get off early. I go in later, get off later. But been on here for a little bit. Shout out to everybody that came through. You know, like I said, it just is what it is, man. When it comes down to it, learn mentality. It's up to him to make that decision and say, I want to garner a relationship with my dad. I want to be there for him. I don't. Hey, solely up to him. You know, we can complain, we can talk about this situation, but at the same time, it's up to him. But with that being said, like I always say, we here and we gone.